And a pleasant good morning to you and yours, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network and the 2023 high school football bracket release breakdown show. I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski, being joined by my co-host Jackson Robb coming up here in just a second. Let's see, Blue's got church this morning, which is very respectable. Billy has something else to do with the fiance, so he won't be here. We invited Adam Franco. He'll be joining us next Saturday for some of the Super Bowl down at Palm Bay. Logan is hunting, and obviously the FHSAA are not Miami Dolphins fans. And by the way, the Dolphins already trail 7-0. In that game, and we've already seen Taylor Swift 14 times. Today, the quest begins for what we believe will be 10 Brevard County High School football teams to get one of these. That's right, a state championship ring. I do believe the one that got this last year will get another one of these this year, and we'll talk about that coming up. But let me bring in my partner in crime, and as a teenager in high school, technically, and I know it's hard to believe that that's what he is, but he is because he's so great on the microphone, and so I'll stop blowing his head up any more than that before he can't wear the headset. But it's unusual to see him on a 9:30 on a Sunday morning. Usually, we're all asleep right now. I promise you that. So please help me welcome Jackson Robb. Jackson, good morning.
Good morning, and yeah, I'm excited for these playoff brackets, as you said. I mean, got a lot of Brevard County teams heading that way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 10 this year. It was 9 last year. I think we'll get – Melbourne made it last year. Obviously, the Bulldogs aren't going this year. But this year, I believe, that would be all of the teams that went last year, with the exception of Melbourne, plus MCC and Heritage would be the other addition this year. I believe it's going to be 10. Now, we're not showing the bracket release show because I will, well, for lack of a better term, never be able to broadcast an FHSAA event again. But if you look in the post, there is the link to that. Now you're thinking, well, what are we going to? What's the purpose of this show? Well, the same purpose that it was, for the other bracket release shows that we did, and that is to break down the matchups as they occur. I will show you on the screen right now. That's the screen. That's YouTube right there. So in 12 minutes and 45 seconds, that's going to pop up. And somebody will come on live, and they're going to go, I hope they do the Suburban first and Metro second. They'll likely start with 1S and work their way up to 4S, and then who cares after that? I mean, I don't.
Nope.
So, all right, let's talk about some of the potential matchups, Jackson, and let's start in I'm still not sure that we got 1S right, but some of the potential matchups that we could see, and our district winners are MCC in 1S, in 2S the Cocoa Tigers, in 3S the Ogali Commodores, and congratulations again to Ogali. It's the first time you can say that in their football program history. And in 4S, congratulations to the Heritage Panthers, who have now won 6 district championships in a span of 10 years, I believe it is what I looked at last night. So just a remarkable job down there this year by Michael Benson and his staff. But let's look at some of the possible matchups we could see in 1S. And one of those first matchups we could see is MCC and Trinity Catholic. And Trinity Catholic's 3-7. MCC 8-2. If it's not Trinity Catholic for MCC, it would be Halifax Academy, which is 7-2. And I've even heard talk that Halifax Academy may just not even come and play again. It was 50, and I'm not joking. I mean, that's what I've heard. That's 56-0 the last time they played MCC. Who wants to come that far to get boat race like that again? Because that's exactly what will happen. But this looks like it's setting up for me anyway, despite the bad loss by Holy Trinity on Friday night. This looks like a Holy Trinity MCC showdown again.
Yeah, I think that's what we're most likely to see because, I mean, HT took that bad loss this week to close out the season, but that Calvary Christian team, Allen, is ranked number 55 in Florida, so they're only 2 spots behind Heritage. So it's a respectable team that Holy Trinity fell to, and yeah, I think it's kind of a crash course for those two teams to see each other again, and it'll be interesting when that.
Will the outcome be any different?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think down at MCC they'll be able to kind of have history repeat itself in a sense.
Okay. All right. And then we'll see what happens from there. If you want to know about whether or not we intend to broadcast any high school football playoff games this year, here's what I found out. If there is a working NFHS camera in place, then the answer is no. If you go back to last year, you'll remember we did not do a first-round playoff game, and it broke my freaking heart because the one we wanted, we just couldn't get, and that was Palm Bay and Titusville. So if there's a working NFHS camera in place, in other words, if all of the games this year were broadcast on an NFHS camera at that playoff school, then no, we cannot broadcast. However, if you're interested, and Coco's Jim Williams has already expressed interest in this, we will do an audio cast. And, they're fun, and it's just like radio. Yep. And we put graphics up on the screen, and we have a good time. And it costs a hell of a lot less than does a broadcast that you can see because it's $500 just to the FHSAA to do a high school football broadcast. $500. All right, so that's how that works. If there's an NFHS working camera at your school, then we cannot broadcast. Okay, that's not our rule. That's the FHSAA and the NFHS network. All right, let's go to 2S, Jackson, where they've already screwed up. Max Preps has already screwed it up.
Surprise, surprise.
Not surprised. We've seen this before, haven't we? Working till about 5:45 this morning, and thank God for daylight savings time. Hope you turned your clock back. But looking through the schedules online, Hudson is already, and there you see Hudson there on your screen, right there where my cursor is. Hudson is already scheduled to play Dunellen. That's a 4-5 matchup, which means, Jackson, what?
We'll probably see Titusville and Palm Bay.
That's right. I don't think there's any doubt we're going to see Titusville and Palm Bay. Now, that's not official yet, but we're going to get a 7-3 Palm Bay against the 9-1 Titusville. This is a rematch of a game played earlier this season, and this is also a rematch of a playoff match from last year in which Palm Bay won 44-27. But it looked like it was going to be a running clock. All of Titusville's points came in the second half. It was a great – Titusville actually outscored Palm Bay in the second half of that football game pretty good. And I think that's what carried Titusville into this season was the second half of that playoff game last season. We said, and I'll pull the clip this week, we said Titusville would be 9-1 this season. They were 9-1 this season. And just another terrific year for John Holmes.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, again, how, 2 years removed from going 0-10, you turn around and becoming a 3 seed in the playoffs at 9-1. But for this matchup between Titusville and Palm Bay, I mean, I don't think it's going to go like it did last year necessarily either way. I don't think we're going to see a big gap on the scoreboard between the two schools. I mean, you look earlier this season, it's 16-10, Titusville with the win, but I know Palm Bay made a nice comeback towards the end of that game to make it close, and now they're going to get another shot up at Titusville. I mean, this is going to be a good game. and I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
269 rushing yards for Titusville in that football game. 269 rushing yards for, and unfortunately, Palm Bay still doesn't put up stats, which I don't understand. I mean, it's 2023. The time has come to update Max Preps, and I love Coach Burke, but I mean, come on. I mean,
well, hold on, Alan. Before you jump on Coach Burke, as someone who works with someone of an older generation,
right?
When you're stuck in your certain ways, do you not like ways that
is he directing that at me? Is that what he means? But how dare you talk about Sheila like that? Sheila, how dare you talk about her?
I've been listening to you when you talk to me, so I mean that should show that.
All right.
By the way, also Martel says good morning. He has joined us here on the Brevard Sports.
Good morning, Martel. Love what that man does. He has made our Friday nights, between the time we have to pack up to the time we have to sit in the studio, not have to because we enjoy what we do, but from the time we go on to do that post-game show, what he has done with PRMD is incredible, absolutely incredible. To hear truth that we hear from not just him but from the coaches has been eye-opening, and it's helped us. You know, it's helped us understand some things as well. So thank you, Martel, and good morning to you as well. So, yeah, I think we're going to get that matchup. I think it's Coco and Eustis and a running clock winning round one.
Yeah, I mean, that should be it.
Yeah, right?
No
I mean, look, we spent the first half of the season doting all over Coco. You know, I mean, it was Coco this, Coco that, and deservedly so. I mean, we showed this ring 1,000 times, right? I didn't know what else we could continue to say about Coco once they got into district play because it was all anticlimactic from what they had done from the St. Thomases, from the Venices of the world, right? Now we get back into the playoffs again, and it'll be a running clock victory for Coco. Although I will say this, Eustis can score.
Yeah.
Eustis can put points on the board, okay? So that'll be I don't know what the hell I'm sitting here trying to say. It's going to be a running clock win, now. Right? Okay? And make sure you go in that Facebook post of ours, because if you don't know where the link is to the YouTube, it's there.
It's in the description for this show as well.
Okay. All right. So Caleb has put it in the link for this description as well. All right. 3S is the interesting, because I think everything is sewn up in 1S and 2S. It's 3S. Let's start with your Scorps. Do they make it or don't they?
I think they will. I think they'll slide in at the 8 because, I mean, it's the loss to Palm Bay, you know, in the grand scheme of things is respectable. For the FHSAA, that is a classification down, so that might hurt them. I think it'll drop them from 7 to 8, but I don't see really a way that loss to a solid Palm Bay team would drop them all the way out.
All right, so then there become two scenarios for Satellite, none of which you're going to want. I don't know any other way to say it. The offense has struggled this year, okay? And they're going to need the offense against both of these teams. First scenario would be Satellite and Mainland. Now, Mainland did get thumped by Lake Mary, but let's not talk, Lake Mary's not a,
They're not a Rudy Poo school.
Right, they're not. This is not a Rudy Poo school, right? They, along with O'Galley last week, were in the game of the week last week. And then the other matchup would be O'Galley, because there still is a minute possibility, Jackson, that with that loss to Lake Mary and the Commodores win over Melbourne, which is a 4S team, there's still a shot they could slide into the 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, and even if not, here's what I'll say about O'Galley. In this region, Mainland's an incredible team. That loss to Lake Mary, they got shut out. So that means...
And we don't know
yeah,
if they played everyone in that football game.
Yeah, but, I mean, my point there is just O'Galley has a really good defense. So, I mean, if they did, I mean, maybe there's a possibility down the line. But, yeah, in round one, here's what I'll say for Satellite. The number one thing, and this isn't discrediting their talent, their ability, but the one thing coaches, players, fans have to do don't get their head down after this game because this is going to be Mainland or Galley, but it's going to be a really uphill battle, and that's the fact of the matter is an 8 versus a 1.
Talking about that Mainland matchup with Lake Mary. Listen, last week Lake Mary lost to Seminole 29-28, and the week before they doubled up Apopka. Okay, so I mean, look, that's a damn good football team. They beat that Oviedo team that beat Heritage. Lake Mary beat them 46-17 earlier this season. So you get the point, right? I mean, that's what it is. All right, moving up in that it would be Merritt Island, and they're either going to play Sebring, which I doubt. The more likely matchup is O'Galley. And look, that was a 12-11 game.
That was a really good game the first time around. So, yeah, I think Merritt Island would be itching to get another try at O'Galley. Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, the more in-county matchups you get, it's get some teams get second chances like Merritt Island to go out against an O'Galley team.
And let me say this from a financial standpoint. The FHSAA needs to do the right thing here. And these parents for some of these schools are going to be traveling or, for a couple of weeks here coming. Now, Cocoa will host, I believe O'Galley gets to host for at least to the regional finals, right? So do the right thing and put as many of these counties against in-county opponents as you can. That saves time. That saves these parents from having to get off of work early. Do the right thing here. You feel me?
Yeah. And works out for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. All right. And then from there, we go to 4S, and shall I not forget about the Raiders of Rockledge? I only see one matchup here for Rockledge, and I believe it's at Jensen Beach. Jensen Beach beats Martin County, which is a 4S team. They were only like 0.020 points behind Rockledge. I believe the win will put them over the Raiders. The Raiders fall to a 2S school, even though it is Cocoa, right? That's just the matchup. I think that 9-1 Jensen Beach against Rockledge 5-5. Ironically, the Raiders got a hell of a shot to win this football game.
They do, but I do have a worry in this game. You look at Jensen Beach this year; they've pitched 6 shutouts, and that's Heritage.
Yeah,
that's Heritage numbers. And the fact of the matter is, Rockledge, to turn this season around and give it, your last fight, you got to find the offense because Jensen Beach, their defense, they've allowed 7.0, 14, 6, 0, 0, 0. They've 14 points is the max they've allowed, and in that game they won 40-14. So
but here's the thing I'm going to add to that, and that's strength of schedule. Okay, their strength of schedule is not great, and it is the reason at 9-1 they were a 5 seed coming into. You're 9-1, you should be a top 3 seed, but strength of schedule buried them all the way to a 5. So that Rockledge will be the toughest team they have faced all year long. Just saying.
No, yeah, that's completely fair, and that's I think for Rockledge at this point in the season, after all that's happened, this has to be a win no matter what. And I think it can be a win, absolutely. But finding the offense just for the whole playoffs is going to have to be a key to advancing.
Their one loss comes to 8-2 Benjamin, which is a good football team, okay? But, yeah, I think Rockledge is right there as probably the toughest football team they have faced all year, waiting for the FHSAA to kick their bracket into high gear here.
Well, look, the FHSA is like us sometimes. Sometimes we're not always right on.
We're always on time. What the hell are you talking about?
By the way, I also like to give a shout out to a couple families watching. Of course, we have the Flores family from Guam tuning in. We have Vanessa Hawkins tuning in.
Hey!
Got Coach CFAT tuning in.
What's up, CFAT? I know he had to get on a plane. How's this? CFAT, where did you have to go?
Right. Where after a great win Friday night, he then had to try to stay up.
All right. This is called, all right, let's go to 4S and Heritage. And for the Panthers, it's one of 2 matchups, I believe. I believe the most likely matchup is Spruce Creek at 7-3 or Vero Beach at 8-2. In either way, I think it's the toughest match on the schedule all year for Heritage, Jackson.
Yeah, I agree. That Oviedo team was solid, but yeah, this is going to be a good test. I mean, you look at Spruce Creek, they lost. Their 3 losses are to 9-1 Lake Mary, 8-2 DeLand by 1 point, and 9-1 University. So even if you get Spruce Creek, that's going to be a tough matchup. And all season it's been strength to schedule this, strength to schedule that. But for Heritage now, this is your time to prove it. That didn't matter. We have the talent to go do this because they do. I think they absolutely do. But we're going to have to see, after all we've seen so far this season, if that strength of schedule mattered or if they'd be just fine regardless.
All right, as we await the Florida High School Athletic Association's live YouTube feed here coming up, and I'm pretty sure I'm on the page. So there are 85 people, 772 people, 727 people are waiting to watch this. So we are not alone here. What's the, real quick, this is what we call time filler. Well, actually, there it is right there. It's already going on. They switched up the link. Tell them to go and look. They switched the link. All right, they're doing 1R Region 2 right now. FHSAA, something else, ain't they? They leave you a link and then kick out another one.
All right, so I'm going to go replace the link in our post.
Yeah, replace the link. Yeah, they do that. And then click on the link that's there. Now, they are in 1R Region 2. I have no idea who Bluntstown, Sneeds, Cottondale, or Port St. Joe is.
Good luck to them.
Good luck to them.
Yep.
Hey, Jackson, what's the thing you're looking forward to the most? To me, the matchup I want to see week 1 is Titusville and Palm Bay.
Yeah, I think games like Titusville, Palm Bay, or Merritt Island, I love the county and county matchups because the ones in the regular season are great, but a lot of the times they're early on in the regular season. And when you get to the end, these teams are all at full strength. They're ready to go, and that's where you see some of the biggest and best matchups in Brevard County in the playoffs when these teams get second shots at each other. So those kind of games are always just great to see, and the possibility of 2 in the first round will be interesting.
Yeah, so that's the matchup. Listen, with all due respect to Merritt Island, I don't know that is a 1-point game between O'Galley
I think that was the week. It was the torrential downpour that we had here in Brevard. So,
and I think John Holmes has got a real decision to make here coming up this week. I know. Listen, the decision is Tank Harvey or the guy that got you to this point at Josiah Allen, or do you just simply put in packages for both of those kids? Both of those student athletes. I hate calling them kids, but both of those student athletes. I think you got to find a way to get both of them young men in there at the position.
Yeah, I think you try and find a way to work them both in. But the one thing I think that they can't do in the playoffs is one drive, you got to have a plan of action for when to use who. But it can't be one drive Josiah, one drive Tank in the back and forth because I think that could set them up for failure. But I think if they have a package, like on certain third downs, short situation, long situations, you have an idea. But they got to have a system for that.
Harvey showed me such an ability on Friday night to be able to and that secondary of Titusville. And I know I was critical Friday night of I actually took the video off, my bad. I know I was critical of the coverage Saturday night, but the playmaking ability of that Titusville secondary is very, very good. So, I mean, the way they were able to close on football and be ball hawkers. All right, here we go. 1S. 1S in the house now. 1S Region 1. We need 1S Region 2. So there will be no 1S football game this week. Oh, I accidentally hit the screen. I hope we don't get in trouble there. But, Caleb, how about an update on the Chiefs and the Dolphins?
All right, give me 1 second. I'm jumping in between things here.
I got you. Chiefs still up 7-0. They got the ball at their own 8-yard line.
All right. Taylor Swift over under today in Germany 27 times. Well, I'd love to sit here and talk about point spreads today because I got some good games today. But it is, you wouldn't want to combine NFL point spreads and the FHSAA in the same broadcast. Trust me when I tell you that. All right. So in 1S Region 1. The top seed is North Florida Christian out of Tallahassee. I know nothing about them. or any of the other 3 teams in the region.
Hey, look, 3 of those teams are in Tallahassee. I mean,
They don't have far to travel.
yeah.
By the way, all the championship games this year are in home of the Rattlers this year, FAMU.
Yep, there it is. MCC number 1.
MCC, the number 1 seed in the region, and they will play
Halifax.
Academy out of Daytona Beach. So let's give it up for the Hustlers, Nate Hooks and company, Halifax Academy. And that is your round 1 matchup. Holy Trinity will face Trinity Catholic. So congratulations to Hurley Brown and company. And so till we get to 2S Region 3, again, this to me is nothing more than going to be a Holy Trinity MCC rematch in the regional finals, as it's MCC and Halifax Academy, and Holy Trinity gets the 3-7 Trinity Catholic.
I'll tell you something about this Trinity Catholic team, Alan. That 3-7 record, they have a 31.3 strength of schedule. This team's ranked 137th in Florida, according to Max Preps, whereas Holy Trinity is outside of 300, according to Max Preps. So I think for MCC, we'll see them guaranteed moving on to the next round. For Holy Trinity, this is going to be a tough team. I mean, they have played very few teams in 1S. They played Carrollwood Day.
Didn't
and
one
lost
of these
by
2
7.
teams score 73 points on Friday night? Or I'm thinking somebody else.
I don't. It wasn't Trinity
I was
Catholic.
looking at a lot of stuff this morning.
Because Trinity Catholic lost to Carrollwood Day by 7, who beat Rockledge in the Kickoff Classic. They lost to FSU High by 3 points.
Which played Cocoa last year in the state championship.
They lost to that Calvary Christian team that Holy Trinity just lost to now by 28 points, but Holy Trinity lost by a little more.
So you could be looking at an MCC Trinity Catholic regional final, too.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
so
a good point,
I think
Jackson.
that game's going to be a good game. I think MCC will have their way with Halifax again, but, Holy Trinity might have their hands full in the opening round. We'll see.
So these guys are going to go through 1S and 1M before they move to 2S.
So yeah, I think if I remember last year, they kind of did. They stay with the same
Number.
number, or they go through 1S and then like 1M.
Okay.
So now that you got talking about, I'm like, wait a minute. Last year they did kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say about MCC too.
Here's an interesting tidbit, real quick, Jackson. In 1M Region 1, Trinity Christian, which beat Rockledge in a close battle, is the top seed in their region. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was just say on the fact of MCC this year, I got to give it up for all them. I mean, this in the preseason and all the hype build up, I didn't know if I saw the vision in year 1 to go this far and be a state championship team. And now they're the 1 seed and looking like that. I mean, they'll have to play Holy Trinity again or Trinity Catholic, but they may be heading to the Final Four in that first year. And all those claims of a state championship seem very in sight and very possible. The talent around that team. Allen at quarterback, Joseph Allen. You got Brian Osterley in the backfield, Day Farmer, and Ramel Hernandez. This is a state-ready team in MCC.
And look, Osterley's the story here. Osterley's the story, and because he transfers from Heritage, he's not going to touch the field at Heritage, right? I mean, that's the thinking, right? So he transfers to MCC, and really, he gets his shot, I believe, to go in and put that team on his back the way he did because Day Farmer gets hurt. Yep. Otherwise, your offense is geared towards getting Tank White and Day Farmer the football. It's funny how things work out in football, isn't it? Now, Osterley ends up being one of the leading rushers in Brevard County High School football this year. What a hell of a year for him.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, this offense is ready to go. I mean, yeah, Osterley over 800 yards. Yeah, MCC really went out there and made a squad, and they're ready, I think, to go to the Final Four and maybe to a state championship.
All right, we're getting ready to get into 2S Region 1. We're going to need 2S Region 3 here, and here we go with 2S Region 1. So there will be some things of note we want to keep our eye on here because we believe Walton, the Funiac Springs, I guess that's how you say it, is the top seed there. So Walton is a team And these are all potential state championship matchups for Cocoa, so that's why you want to kind of take a look at this. Walton will play South Walton. Pensacola Catholic will play Sewanee. The number 2 seed in 2S Region 1 is going to be Wakulla. So Wakulla is a 2 seed, so that's another team that's got a shot. Gadsden County does not.
There's Florida High again.
Florida High is a 3 seed this year. They lost some guys from last year. I believe they lost their head coach. He moved on. So Florida High, who's the defending state runner-up, is a 3 seed in 2S this year. Now they go to 2S Region 1, or Region 2, rather, and the top seed in 2S Region 2 is Bradford. So the Bradford Tornadoes last year, the best ever high school football pregame show I've ever seen in my life. With the tornado warning and all of that going off. And then Cocoa goes out there and puts all these points on them in the first half. They return the opening. They did this 2 weeks in a row because they beat Baker County, right, and then turn around and did it the same way. They start the second half by returning the opening kick for a touchdown that they pulled, that they came close to Cocoa. That will, for me, ever be referred to as the Anthony Bridgewater game, because Bridgewater put the Tigers on his back in that game last year and carried them. And I want to give it up for Kevin Mays and Baker County. That looked like one of the worst football teams I'd seen play this year earlier when Vieira went up and beat them good. And here they are, a 3 seed in 2S Region 2.
If I can give a shout out to another team in that region, Yulee, Rockledge offensive coordinator Kyle Doherty. He went there. Former offensive coordinator.
Here we go, Cocoa, the number 1 seed in Region 3, and they will play
Eustis.
Surprise, surprise. The Cocoa Tigers will take on the Eustis Panthers Friday night. Eustis 7-3 and Cocoa 9-1. I'll take Cocoa.
Oh, look, Hudson's playing Denellen.
Oh, yeah, Hudson's playing Denellen. Yeah, right.
But yeah, I'll definitely take Cocoa again here and running clock for sure.
This region did not change, so it will be, the matchup will indeed be, yes sir, Titusville and Palm Bay Friday night in a rematch. 3rd time in a year these two teams will get together, and I'm excited for this one. This is where I'll be Friday night. Like I said, unless we're doing an audio cast somewhere, or this is where I'm going.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. As I said earlier, it was a 16-10 final back earlier in the fall, in which Titusville came out on top. But I got the chance to see Palm Bay this past week. They run that ball, and they run it, and that's what they do, and they do it right. That defensive line, and that was striking to me. You said how many rushing yards Titusville had, because Palm Bay on Friday night against Satellite was living in the backfield. Noah Flores, Logan Waite, Ethan Rafel could not go anywhere out of that backfield unless they passed the ball. So we'll see if, I don't know if Palm Bay's pressure has gotten more over the season, or, they had a good night on Friday, but we'll see if Titusville can run like that again.
This is also setting up for a second-round matchup between the winner between Titusville and Palm Bay to play Bradford, and a chance to knock Bradford out in the second round of the playoffs. Setting up a regional final, which John Holmes told me sitting in walk-ons, that Titusville would be in a regional final this year. And this bracket sets up perfectly for that.
Yeah, I definitely think
Bradford's going to be tough
Yeah.
for either Titusville or Palm Bay, okay? And you can't just sit here, and I don't mean any disrespect to Titusville, but you just can't sit here and say Titusville's going to win this football game, Jackson. Palm Bay's got this is a 50-50 game going in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they lost to them earlier in the year, so I know Palm Bay and that group's going to want to go back up to Titusville and spoil their season now, and they want to move on again just like last year. So I think this may be the closest of a lot of the games we're going to see on Friday night, because the first-round games can get out of hand. But this one, it's not even a 4-5. It's a 3-6, but
Right.
It's still going to be, I think, a great game. And just the fact that it is an in-county game kind of ups the ante for who's going to move on and who's going to keep going out of Brevard. And those two teams are going to they're going to do battle, and they're going to do it well.
And I think the thing that's really interesting about this is the way this bracket sets up. Neither Palm Bay or Cocoa, or neither Palm Bay or Titusville will have to face Cocoa in the second round. Last year, Cocoa was a 2 seed. So they were all in that same bracket together. Not the case this year, as the Tigers are clearly the top seed in that region. So let's recap with what we know thus far to this point, and that is MCC will take on Halifax Academy. That won't be this Friday night. That'll be next Friday night, okay? That's the same with Holy Trinity and Trinity Catholic. Cocoa will take on Eustis, and Titusville will host Palm Bay. I was kind of hoping maybe Nature Coast stuck in there. Look on your screen, Jackson, at their helmet. That's pretty neat, huh?
Yeah.
So, Jackson may have just for a smidge of a second cheered for Nature Coast, for a couple of minutes against Cocoa, had that been the case, because they look like the University of North Carolina, and Jackson doesn't cheer for anybody other than University of North Carolina, and yes, that includes you, Cocoa. All right, so that's what we know so far. They're on 2M Region 2. As we get set for the next region, Jackson, the big thing here is to whether Brevard gets one more team in than we did last year. Or your scores, buddy.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be down to them, and as we said earlier, it's going to be interesting just how the FHSAA handles the loss they had Friday night to fall to 5-5. It's a very similar situation last year at 5-5 with the one district win for Satellite. It's a similar resume, and they made it in last year. So I think if they keep it consistent with their standards and how they grade these teams, Satellite should be.
The one difference between Satellite this year and Satellite last year was Satellite won a couple of big games down the stretch last year. This year they're 0-3 in their past 3. So I'm not trying to be the one to put, kick dirt on your Wheaties here on a beautiful Sunday morning in Brevard County, or the other expression that some people say. But that is the one caveat to keep in mind as you move forward here. How will the FHSAA and how will they view this? So
yeah.
But I do think they're in 8, and I think they're going to draw Mainland myself.
I think what also helps them is they have 2 4S wins this year. They beat Vieira and Melbourne, which is 2.
That win over Vieira is going to be huge.
Yeah, I think that could set it over, but. For Satellite again, I think they'll sneak in at the 8, but it's going to be a buzzsaw of sorts in round 1 that they're just,
Mainland is not going to be. And listen, we often laud Coach Elton for the defensive mind that he is. Got a lot of game planning to do against a very good Mainland team coming up.
Yeah, I know they have, at least defensively, they got some 4-stars and a lot of guys all over that team. And Mainland, especially after a loss like that they took Friday night, they're going to be rallying to go to start the playoffs. So we'll have to see. And for Satellite, hopefully they can come out of there with a solid game, but can't
something to build on.
Yeah, can't hang your head on it. Any of the players, any of the coaches, fans, whatever. You gotta stay. Keep your head up for next
season.
season.
The thing that they've done over the last 2 years that a lot of people said they wouldn't do was go back to the playoffs. If they get in today, it's the 3rd straight year they will have done it, and kudos to them. So, and they laid the blueprint. Look, 5 years ago they were playing in the Sunshine State Athletic Conference, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Caleb earlier this week. And for Satellite, what people got to realize
we're on that 3S, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, what people got to realize is Satellite has had such a resurgence recently, and 3 straight playoff in 3S for the Satellite as a program is still incredible. That's still great to see. We were an independent for a while, and Coach Kimmy came over, and then we switched to it was 5A when
that's right. You were
came
independent,
back up. Yeah. And then since then, we've made the playoffs the last 3 years, and we being Satellite. So I think that's great for them, and I think people got to realize 8 seed, 1 seed, 2, whatever Satellite ended up being, it's probably going to be a 7 or an 8. for them, I mean, still for Satellite being so new to being out of the independent, I mean, it's still incredible to see.
St. Augustine, one of the number 1 seeds in 3S. And I think it's also going to be interesting to see if Rockledge holds that 4 spot or actually drops to 5 to play Jensen Beach. That's going to be interesting. But I'm going to pick Rockledge to win that football game if it is Jensen Beach. Because, again, you don't want Game 11 to be the toughest game of your season. You don't.
No, I think for Rockledge, again, with so much that they're trying to prove going into the playoffs, I think they'll be able to come out on top in that one as well.
All right, here we go. 3S Region 2. We need 3S Region 3, but the top seed is Vanguard out of Ocala in 3S Region 2. And Vanguard will take on River Ridge at a Newport Richie for whatever that's worth to whomever. Zephyr Hills, we're familiar with that, aren't we, Jackson?
Yeah.
I always call them the water team. And they'll take on Cypress Creek out of Wesley Chapel.
MCC played that team, I think, this year, that Cypress Creek team.
Lake Wales is the 2 seed in 3S Region 2. That's a good football team. And they will take on Golf at a Newport Richie.
I think Lake Wales is that defending state champion.
I think you're right. Leesburg is the 3 seed, and that would be our old friend Corey Broomfield over there. Congratulations, Corey. He's the assistant associate head coach and the defensive coordinator there. Here we go, Region 3, Seed 1. You got butterflies for your Scorps, Jax.
Yeah.
Oh, the stream froze. No, I'm kidding.
They're talking about tickets.
Yeah, talking about tickets right now, right?
You would think they do that like in between classes. Now.
Right.
But hey, what do we know about
what
promoting?
do we know about delivering sports, right?
Or promoting them the correct way.
Right.
Mainland.
Mainland is the 1 seed, so Galley will be the 2. Will it be the Satellite Scorpions? And it is. Congratulations to the Satellite Scorpions. Brian Helton and company are in for a second straight year at 5-5. Jensen Beach is the 4, and Rockledge the 5, just as we suspected. So it is going to be O'Galley and Merritt Island, it looks like, too.
Yep.
O'Galley and Merritt Island. So let's talk. All right, so we do get 4 more teams back in the region. Let's go. All right, let's start again. We got Satellite and Mainland. Good luck.
Yep.
But as we said, this is something to build on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you got a lot of young players coming up in Satellite too. I mean, Ethan, quarterback, is a senior, but for Satellite, a lot of these young kids, you want to get them acclimated to a game like this. So, I mean, don't hang your heads on it. Go out and score some points.
How about this Merritt Island at O'Galley matchup? That's a beaut, too.
Yeah. Second time.
Yeah, 12-11 the first time. I like O'Galley in this one.
But it is hard to beat a team twice in one season. Look,
O'Galley's rolling right now.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Rolling. That old Chuck wagon is rolling.
I'm not taking anything, but I'm just saying we've seen weird things happen in
Yes, we have. Last year, that Satellite Rockledge playoff game. And then to me, one of the more intriguing matchups is Rockledge at Jensen Beach. And I'm sorry, and I know we sat here the other night and we talked about the Raider season being a failure at 5-5. That's the regular season, Jackson. This is the playoffs. We heard on Spaces the other night, the mindset is that the slate is wiped clean. And while a lot of people were, giving them grief about that, right? That's the truth. Everybody's 0-0 this week. No, people aren't going to forget the fact that Rockledge went 5-5 this year, but they will put it aside for this week. And I like the Raiders to beat the Falcons.
I think they should be able to here. I mean, it comes down to the fact that I think they have more talent. I think they have more ability. They are the best team that Jensen Beach has played. I don't think Jensen Beach is going to be ready for Rockledge this week.
Not defensively.
No. I think we're going to have to see Rockledge come out. But I want to see it not in a close game like a 3-point. I want Rockledge to come out and make a statement because chances are they're playing Mainland in round 2. So you got to come up, you got to make a play, and you got to pick up a win.
Listen, they get this win over Jensen Beach, and O'Galley beats Merritt Island. O'Galley didn't beat Rockledge until the final 45 seconds of that district championship game, and we get a rematch of that.
I thought it's Mainland and Rockledge.
Oh, it would be. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. My bad.
It would be
because they drop. Right.
Yes.
Okay. My fault.
Coach Helton has asked you to check your phone, Alan. Sorry, I just.
Joey?
Coach Helton, I love you, buddy. I love you. Absolutely, buddy. Unbelievable. That's funny. All right. So, they're on 3M Region 2. Let's recap, shall we? 1S is Halifax Academy at MCC. And we are going to get 10 teams in, too, by the way. Halifax Academy at MCC. Trinity Catholic at Holy Trinity. Eustis at Cocoa. Palm Bay at Titusville. And that's 4 Brevard County teams hosting. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Make it 5 with Merritt Island at O'Galley. And we got Rockledge at Jensen Beach and Satellite. No, that's the wrong one, Alan. I made graphics for every scenario. So that scenario didn't come to fruition. So let me go ahead and erase that now. So right now we got 9 teams in, and we just need to figure out who Heritage is going to play. Who do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be Spruce Creek or is it going to be Vero Beach? I want to see Vero Beach, but I think it's going to be Spruce Creek.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it'll be Spruce Creek, but that Vero Beach matchup would be pretty interesting.
Yep.
Sean Hartman wanted to remind us that O'Galley didn't beat Merritt Island till the last minute. So don't count out the.
I'm not counting them out. I'm not counting out anything that they're doing this year. My thing is that going into the playoffs right now, they're the 3 hottest. Well, listen, Coco's playing well. But if you're looking for teams that are hot, where everything is rolling, and I'm not saying it's not for Cocoa, okay? But to me, it's Heritage, it's O'Galley. The way those 2 teams are playing right now, I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the fact that Merritt
and Cocoa
Island,
will be fine.
Yeah. I think Merritt Island's a great team, and I think they played them really well the first time around. My thing with
I don't like the loss to Eustis.
So for O'Galley right now, I think they're peaking at the right time. They're scoring points. They're winning the big games. They're trending up. And not that Merritt Island's trending down, but they've had back-to-back close games where they've had to sweat out games against Satellite and games against Eustis. One a win, one a loss, but those were very tight games, and they've had to trudge those out, whereas O'Galley's kind of had their way with some teams to close out the season.
But if anybody can pull the upset, we saw it last year, right? Now, I get it, different players, right? Not a lot of different players, but different players. When Merritt Island went over to O'Galley and beat an undefeated Commodores team on a Monday night. Remember that?
Yep.
Yes, I do.
It was an overtime win.
Yep.
So I hear you, Sean. I hear you. And how about Sean Hartman Jr. this year? What a year for him.
Listen, Brevard County for the next couple of years is going to have a lot of great quarterbacks that we're going to get to watch.
Yeah, a lot
all
of great
play
young
each other.
quarterbacks. They're on 3M Region 4 right now. We're getting ready to move into 4S. And once they go through 4S Region 3, I'm turning off the feed for the the FHSAA. We'll look at these games one more time, and then we'll get out, and I'll put a post up with all the information on them. Also coming up today, you can look to see post on. We had a lot of great district champions in cross country, Satellite boys and girls. How about the Satellite boys cross country team? Won their 9th straight district championship. 9 straight. Satellite girls won their 4th straight, 7th in 9 years. The Astronaut boys won, and Holy Trinity boys won district championships. So congratulations to them. We got Final Four volleyball coming up this week as well. Vieira and Merritt Island in the Final Four over in Lakeland at Polk State College. There is a lot on tap this week in local sports, and a lot of great stuff, too. All right, we're in 4S. Buchholz, depending upon who you are and how you pronounce it. Buchholz taking on Mosley. They're a 1 seed. This is one of the toughest regions. This is one of the toughest classifications in the state. I don't care whether it's SRM. This is a tough classification.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the highest level, and that's my only fear, really, for Heritage here, whoever they're playing, is the farther they get, the deeper these teams get, and that's just the problem with the strength of schedule. So we'll see with some of these teams that if Heritage makes it to the Final Four, which they definitely can, who they'll have to face.
Let me ask you this. While I like Heritage to obviously win their first-round playoff game against whether it's Vero or Spruce Creek, I'm contradicting myself and picking them and saying the same thing I said about Jensen Beach, right? Jensen Beach is 9-1, and the toughest team they have played all year is coming up Friday night in Rockledge. The same thing's going to hold true for Heritage here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Heritage is extremely talented, and I think they can get through on the first round. But that second round, I think they're going to face a 1 seed, and that's where it's going to be a culmination of all their efforts, all the talent that they have. But that's going to have to be 110% going out there and going out to fight out that football game because they haven't seen that yet this year.
I mean, you look at these number 1 seeds so far: Buchholz and Lakeland.
Yeah,
that's pretty. That's a steep hill.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean.
But they're ready. They're ready.
I think they are. I mean, I think the key for this team earlier on was gelling and getting the connections built between quarterback, running back, receiver, and all the defense and everybody as a unit. And I think they've done that down the stretch and become a team that is a coercive unit and one that can go out here and play as a team and win football games as a team. So I think that was key with all the transfers and just a new look roster this year. And I think that all that talent's coming together now as a solid group.
What sucks is I would have loved to have seen them jump to a 3 seed to get them out of that 1. Treasure Coast is the 1 seed in 4S, Region 3. Treasure Coast. Osceola Kissimmee via District Champ takes that 8 seed, and that will obviously eliminate Vieira, plus the loss to Titusville. Vero Beach jumps to a 4.
Wow.
And they will travel to face the Heritage Panthers, not Spruce Creek. Vero from a 6 to a 4 seed. Wow. I like Heritage in this one.
Yeah, I
like Heritage. I like what they did against them in the spring game.
Yep.
Without all the transfers, I like Heritage in this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say we saw them play them earlier on in that spring game. Yeah, I think this is a game Heritage can win, and I think this is a game that they should win. And I think that we're gonna see Heritage move on. This is gonna be a tough Vero Beach team. They always are, but Heritage has at least seen a version of them earlier on in the spring, and now they'll have a chance to move on in the first round against them.
I think Treasure Coast will beat Osceola. I don't know if the two played this year. Look that up for me.
Yep.
But that's not a cakewalk game for Treasure Coast either.
No.
Against Osceola.
No, it is not.
But I'm curious to see if Osceola's played.
They played them week 1, and Treasure Coast won 22-8.
Okay, so that's not hateful.
No.
But Vero Beach and Heritage 8-2 against 9-1. All right, so that's the matchup. Boy, I had them playing. That's the only one I was wrong on. If I was sliding chips in on the table, they would have went to Spruce Creek.
Yeah. And, I mean, a fact of that, too, about Treasure Coast is they played Vero Beach in their last game of the regular season. They won 22-10. So, again, not a big blowout. So, if Heritage can beat they can beat Vero Beach, they may be right up there with Treasure Coast. So,
all right.
Heritage has the potential to go somewhere.
Just for note of this same classification, Venice is the number 1 seed there in Region 4, and the number 2 seed is Manatee in that 4S region.
Wow.
Region 4.
Okay. So here we go. 10 teams, 6 of them are hosting. Pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. Throughout this whole season, I think we've had a lot of great football teams that I didn't even expect. I mean, there were some teams that opened it up throughout the season, and we questioned Brevard this year at the start and just the youth of the county and how that would turn out, and well, it turned out pretty dang good for Brevard.
No doubt about it. And there you see the matchups on your screen. The 2 biggest matchups I'm looking forward to the most. Well, now 3, to be honest with you. And the top of my list, if I had to rank these games in terms of best, you know what I'm saying? Titusville, Palm Bay, 1. Heritage, Vero Beach, 2. Merritt Island, O'Galley, 3.
Yeah, I think that
Because
that's
I'm talking about games we can see.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're not. Rockledge is going all the way to Jensen Beach.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good football game, but I like Rockledge in that one.
Yeah, I think Rockledge can win that game, and yeah, I mean this is going to be when, as we've said, it goes back to 0-0. This is the second season, so a lot of teams had surprising and incredible regular seasons, somehow disappointing regular seasons, but this is where now you get to reset, you get to start over, go out to practice, and now you're a playoff football team. There's a different mentality. The next team's up on the whiteboard, and that's your only goal in sight, is to go out and beat that team and keep moving and keep your season alive and just keep playing.
Aside from the Cocoa Tigers, who will win it all? Who can win it all?
I think MCC can win it all. I think Cocoa, 3S. If O'Galley can get past Mainland, it's definitely a possibility because I think that may be one of the best.
That's
teams.
the matchup, isn't it?
Yeah, and then 4S.
And that is if they beat Merritt Island.
Yeah, that as well. And Heritage, again, for 3S and 4S, I'm not ruling it out, but they have the tougher roads than I think 1 and 2. I think MCC and Cocoa could both do it. And 3S and 4S, we're just going to have to see some teams step up to an even higher level against some of these.
Yeah, I think Cocoa repeats.
Yep.
And I think MCC's right there.
I think they can do it.
I think they can do it. I think their toughest test may come if Holy Trinity can't get past Trinity Catholic. That match against Trinity Catholic will be a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, all right, Caleb, do you have any final thoughts?
Alan, could you repeat, since we have a bunch of coaches and again, the streaming policy concerning the NFHS cameras and everything? So we have people saying, "Come stream our games." So if you could just repeat for everybody.
Here's the way it works for streaming. If you've had a working NFHS camera at your facility all year, in other words, if I can go onto the NFHS network right now and watch all 5 of your home football games, the policy is that the rights are owned by the FHSAA and the NFHS network. If you do not have a camera that has worked or do not have a camera in place, hey, give us a call. But I will tell you, it's $500. That's not us. That's what the FHSAA charges. I'd love to be able to pick that cost up, but
No.
I gotta win a lot of money today. Go
Right.
ahead.
And and then to follow that up, if you would still like us to show up, we can do an audio cast.
Yeah, we'll do an audio cast for you. Not a lot of people say.
And look, we have three capable crews that can go and perform the best audio cast.
Yeah, these audio casts are magnificent. They really are. And a lot of times people don't want to pay the $10.99 a month. You forget to cancel it, right? Then it hits your account the next month. You bounce a check because of it, right? So
not saying that from experience or anything.
No, I'm saying we know because we got 4 different NFHS accounts, right? But just if you want, and an audio cast, by the way, is much, much cheaper. It's only $200, so pretty cheap.
Yeah, definitely doable.
Final thoughts, Caleb?
10 schools. Everybody 0-0. Let's go play football, baby.
That's right. Jackson?
Second season's here, and I also like to shout out Merritt Island Christian. They're in the Final Four of SSAC AAA. So
nice.
We got them and our 10 teams all going to go at it, and hopefully we'll bring some hardware back again. I'm sure we will.
Well, thank you again for joining us here, like breakfast at Wimbledon, right? Breakfast with Brevard Sports Network this morning, the FHSAA bracket release show. Again, let's start from 4S and work backwards. It'll be the 8-2 Vero Beach Fighting Indians at the 9-1 Heritage Panthers Friday night. It'll be the 5-5 Rockledge Raiders at 9-1 Jensen Beach. It'll be the 5-5 Satellite Scorpions at 9-1 Mainland. It'll be the Merritt Island Mustangs at 6-4 at 9-1 O'Galley. It'll be the 7-3 Palm Bay Pirates at 9-1 Titusville. It'll be the 7-3 Eustis Panthers at the 9-1 Cocoa Tigers. In 1S, Trinity Catholic at 3-7 at Holy Trinity 7-3. That's in 2 weeks, by the way. And Halifax Academy 7-2 at MCC 8-2. 10 teams, 6 hosting. Going to go work on putting the post up right now. Watch the second half of the Chiefs and the Dolphins. So for Caleb Brown, for Jackson Robb, I'm Alan Slaughterzinski. Congratulations to all of the Brevard County teams. I would think that 10 is close to, if not a record number of teams. I'll look that up as well. So have a great day of NFL Sunday, and we'll see you a lot this week for a lot of great Brevard County sports. Have a great day, everybody.